Miyamoto Musashi once wrote, "The way is in training." 5 words that built a lifetime of mastery. And if you've ever tried to build a habit, you already know it's not about talent, it's about repetition. If you've ever started something and lost momentum, this video is for you. Because Musashi once believed that one small movement done daily changes everything. Musashi warned, if you diverge a little from the true path, this will later become a large divergence. Everyone wants change, but few are willing to repeat daily what it takes. That's where most fall short of their path. You don't lose your dream drifts away from you. Musashi called Earth the ground beneath your art, like the bricks formed in this wall. That support this enormous castle. Without having strong supports, without having strong habits, your creativity will collapse. As the storm approaches, you must forget motivation. As it battens down and the winds blow, you must forget perfection. And to see your way through it, you must understand your power is in the practice. As you take the first step through the book of Earth, don't chase perfect days. Chase repeated ones. Pick small daily actions you can't fail at. As you take the second step through the book of Earth, you must train from sunrise to sunset. 30 days, no exceptions. You're not proving it works. You're proving you're serious. The third and final step in the book of Earth, as you start to form a sense of mastery, refining techniques, don't quit when it gets easy. Adjust your form, not your frequency. Mastery doesn't begin with greatness. It begins with a single motion. Habits are the foundation of the book of earth, and the foundation of the beginning of your journey. Build them strong, and your art will never fail. Thank you for being part of this journey. Your time, your attention, and your commitment to growth mean more than you know. We don't take that lightly. Stay grounded, stay training, and stay continuous, creatives.
You cannot grasp the moon in the stream. When you reach for it, the surface breaks and the image disappears. This is not because the moon is gone, but because the water is disturbed. Musashi teaches the problem is not the world, but the conditions of your mind. When the surface is unstable, everything you see becomes distorted. You react not to reality, but to your perception of it. In the Book of Water, Musashi explains the spirit and physical state of the warrior. He uses water because it adapts to any shape, flowing wherever it may need to, yet never losing its nature. A practitioner must be the same, not fixed, not rigid. able to adjust to any situation. If you hold to one form, you become predictable. Musashi describes the spirit as clear like blue water, like this castle reflects upon the water. When it is disturbed, you cannot see clearly. When the mind is still, it reflects without distortion. The body remains natural and the mind remains steady. If you tense up, you lose your freedom. There should be no difference between your everyday state and your working state. To understand water, you must first train like water. First, clear the mind, focus on one action. Second, correct the body, no tension. Third, maintain movement, do not stop without reason. Fourth, do not become fixed, adapt. Fifth, act decisively, resolve, complete. Apply the same principle at every level of the spirit of what you're trying to master. Musashi distinguishes between cutting and merely touching. A cut resolves, hesitation prolongs. When you see an opening, you act. At the beginning, we tried to grasp the moon in the stream, but the lesson was never in the moon. It was always in the water. When the surface is still, it reflects everything exactly as it is. Up next is the Book of Fire. Continue the study, like, subscribe, and join us for the next ring.
Fire rarely dies at once. It fades, A little less heat, a little less light, a little less energy. And before long, what was once powerful becomes nothing more than glowing ash. In battle, in art, and in life, the same thing happens to us. We've all experienced it. The project that won't move forward. The argument that keeps repeating itself. The problem we've attacked a dozen times with the same result. So we push harder, and somehow we make less progress. Musashi understood this. In the Book of Fire, Miyamoto Musashi turns his attention to conflict. But not conflict as most people imagine it. Not anger, not violence, not aggression. Fire represents momentum, energy, initiative, and most importantly, the ability to act when the moment arrives. One of Musashi's most important lessons appears when two opponents become entangled. Neither side advances. Neither side retreats. The battle becomes stuck. Yet both continue fighting. Not to solve the problem. Not to move forward. But to defend their pride. This is the trap. Musashi writes, "When you and the enemy are entangled and no progress can be made, cast off your previous spirit and begin anew. Renew the spirit." Simple words, powerful strategy. When the current approach fails, stop feeding the dying flame and build a new one. Fire belongs to the one who acts first. Throughout the Book of Fire, Miyamoto Musashi returns again and again to initiative. Take the lead. The first movement. The first decision. Not because acting first guarantees victory, but because hesitation guarantees nothing. When strategy stops working, most people try harder. Musashi suggests something different. Change the rhythm. Change the timing. Change the angle. Change the energy. Force the situation to become new. So how do we apply this today? First, recognize when you are stuck. Second, stop repeating failed actions. Third, change something meaningful. Your approach, your timing, your environment. And finally, act decisively. At the beginning, we watched the fire fade. We assumed the problem was the fire. But Musashi teaches otherwise. The fire was never the problem. The fuel was. When momentum dies, renew it. When progress stops, renew it. When the old spirit can no longer win, cast it aside and begin anew. If this lesson resonated with you, consider subscribing. Next, we continue our journey into the Book of Wen, where Musashi teaches us how to recognize weakness before anyone speaks a word. Until then, stay decisive and always stay continuous, creatives. Have you ever walked into a room and felt something wasn't right? Nobody said anything. Nothing was obvious. Yet somehow you knew. Maybe at a glance, a hesitation, a shift in tone. The hairs on the back of your neck stood up. You could not explain it, but you noticed it. The signs were there before you understood them. And that is where awareness begins. The signs were always there. A change in behavior, a pause before an answer, a pattern that repeats itself. Most people never notice them. They see results, but they miss the warning. In the Book of Wen, Musashi does something unusual. He stops talking about himself. He stops talking about victories. Instead, he begins studying everyone else. The schools, the methods, the assumptions. Not because he wants to copy them, but because he wants to understand them. Musashi believed that every school revealed something. Its habits, its preferences, its weaknesses. If Earth taught us how to train, if water taught us how to adapt, and fire taught us how to act, wind teaches us how to see. Because before every mistake, there is a sign. One school favored unusually long swords. Their logic seemed sound. The longer the weapon creates more distance, more reach, more safety. At first glance, it appeared superior. But Musashi noticed something else. The sword wasn't the problem. The belief behind it was. They trusted distance more than skill. They trusted equipment more than adaptability. And when the fight moved into a narrow hallway, when the movement became restricted, the advantage disappeared and the school lost. The tool is not the strategy. Skill matters more than equipment. Complexity is not capability. Other schools focused on beautiful techniques, elegant movements, perfect demonstrations, decorative footwork. Everything looked impressive. The crowd admired. The students admired it. But Musashi asked one simple question. Does it work? Because when real pressure arrived, the elegant movement created openings. The decorative technique wasted time. The appearance of mastery became a substitute for mastery itself. And the school lost. Looking skilled is not the same as being skilled. Appearance can hide weakness. Some schools taught students to watch the hands. Others taught them to watch the eyes. Others focused on the sword. Musashi warned against it all. Because when you focus on one thing, you lose the whole person. The fighter becomes fixated, and the world narrows. And what exits outside of the narrow focus disappears. The attack arrives from somewhere else. The opportunity appears somewhere else. The answer was always there, but the school never saw it. And the school lost. When we focus on one thing, we lose sight of everything else. Awareness requires perspective. The greatest danger isn't what we can see, it's what we fail to notice. Every school believes it had the answer. Every school believed it was correct. And because of that confidence, each developed blind spots. Strength became weakness. Clarity became limitation. The thing ignored eventually became the thing that mattered the most. And the school lost. Every strength creates a blind spot. What you ignore eventually matters. So how do we apply this today? Musashi's answer is surprisingly simple. Observe before you improve. Observe before you optimize. Observe before you react. This week, don't rush to change anything. Instead, pay attention. What assumptions guide your decisions? What habits shape your actions? What patterns keep repeating? The goal isn't immediate improvement. The goal is understanding. Observation comes before improvement. First notice, then act. At the beginning, we talked about that feeling, the moment when something feels wrong. The long sword revealed dependence. The flowery manner revealed vanity. The fixated eye revealed tunnel vision. The blind spot revealed limitation. Musashi writes, "Know the ways of all professions. and know the advantages and disadvantages of everything. The signs were always there. The schools simply ignored them. And perhaps that is the lesson of the win. Awareness begins when we stop looking only at ourselves. Awareness is seeing what others miss. The more we understand the world around us, the more clearly we begin to understand ourselves. Next time, we enter the final book, the Book of Void, where everything Musashi has taught us disappears. Until then, stay aware and always stay continuous, creatives. Today, I'm going to try to take you on an experience, not just to understand the void, but to feel the edges of it. Because some things cannot be taught directly. They can only be experienced. For many years ago, my own wise teacher, Lee Smith Jr., introduced me to an idea that changed the way I think about mastery, focus, and stillness. Today, I'd like to share that experience with you. So for the next few minutes, let's explore the boundary together. The void, the final ring, the final lesson, and perhaps the hardest one to understand. To many people, the word void sounds unsettling. It sounds like emptiness, nothingness, and the absence of meaning. But Musashi meant something different entirely. He wrote, "By knowing things that exist, you know that which does not exist. That is the void." Think of a blank canvas, empty, yet capable of becoming any painting. Think of silence, empty, yet capable of holding every sound. The void is not the absence of possibility. It is possibility itself. Before we continue, I want you to stop. Pause the video when you see the pause on the screen. And get to a place where you're comfortable. Look at the screen. Or, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Take a slow breath in. Draw the air in your nose into your stomach. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Feel the weight of your body. Feel gravity pulling you towards the earth. 2, 3, 4. Now exhale. Slowly. Let your shoulders drop. Let the tension leave. 2, 3, 4. Good. Now listen. Long ago, a man burdened by endless work sought help from a wise master. The wise master gave him a powerful demon. The creature could perform impossible tasks. It could build walls, harvest fields, dig lakes, and even move mountains. But there was one condition. The demon had to remain busy every moment. If it ever ran out of work, it would devour the master. At first, the man was delighted. The demon completed every task faster than he could ever imagine. His life became easy. His wealth grew. His problems disappeared. Until one day, he ran out of work. The demon approached, towering over him, demanding another task. Terrified, the man ran back to the master, and the old master smiled. He picked up a single curly hair and handed it to him. Give this to the demon. Tell him to straighten it. The demon laughed. It pulled the hair straight, released it, and watched it curl again. He heated it. He pulled it. He hammered it. Tried everything. Yet every time he released it, the curl returned. Hours became days. Days became years. The demon completely absorbed by the impossible task. And for the first time, the man knew peace again. Before we continue, take another breath. If your eyes are closed, keep them closed. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Notice the stillness. Notice the space between thoughts. Notice how quiet everything has become. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Slowly. 2, 3, 4. The demon is still there, but for a moment, it has stopped shouting. And when you're ready, slowly open your eye. The story is ancient, but the demon is familiar, because the demon is in us. It is the restless part of the mind, the voice that replays old mistakes, the voice that worries about tomorrow, the voice that cannot stop searching for another problem to solve. The mind is an incredible servant, but it is a terrible master. The demon was never defeated. It was simply given a place to rest. And many people misunderstand mastery. They believe the goal is to stop thinking. Musashi disagreed. You cannot enter the void through ignorance. You earn it. First comes the training, then adaptation, then action, then awareness. Only then can the mind become quiet. This is the great paradox. The void is not the beginning of the path. It is what remains when the path disappears beneath your feet. When the technique no longer requires thought. When the action and the actor become one. When there is no hesitation between knowing and doing. We no longer carry swords, but the battle remains. The athlete stepping onto the line, the writer facing a blank page, the artist painting, a musician performing, a creator publishing their first work. There is a moment when participation ends, and analysis stops, and doubt fades, and action simply happens. Modern psychology calls this flow. Musashi called it something else. He called it the void. Not because nothing exists, but because nothing unnecessary remains. Before we leave, one final breath. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. If your eyes are closed, slowly open them. Musashi closes his masterpiece with these words: "In the void is virtue and no evil. Wisdom has existence. Principle has existence. The way has existence. Spirit is nothingness." Perhaps the void is not something we find. Perhaps it is something that remains when everything unnecessary is allowed to fall away. Earth taught us to train. Water taught us to adapt. Fire taught us to act. Wind taught us to see. Void teaches us to let go. The demon was never the enemy. The noise was. And in the silence, we begin to see clearly. If you join me for all the 5 books, thank you. This has been more than a study of strategy. It has been a study of mastery. Until next time, stay unbound and always stay continuous, creatives.